Hi guys, my name is Bruce and welcome to my video. Today I'm going to teach you how to make my broccoli cheese soup. Little backstory on that. My wife and I, we both like to eat, and I love chili, but she doesn't. So anytime I get a chance to make chili for other people, I go ahead and I make it, and then I keep some for myself. I made it for the Legion for pool night the other night. Well, today's kind of the same situation. I'm not really super cool on broccoli cheese soup. I can have a couple bowls of it and like it, but I can't really. I just, when it comes down to it, I can't make anything in small portions. I have to make like enough for an army, and it's just always been my problem. I don't know, maybe I was a chef for 30 years, maybe that has something to do with it. Anyway, it was her turn, so today I promised that I would make some broccoli cheese soup for the American Legion for the football game today. I live in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers are playing, yay. And so I made it, and I wanted to leave some left over for her. Turns out, for once in my life, I didn't make enough, so I had to make a second batch. So I'm like, all right, well, if I'm making a second batch, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do it. It's really easy. I made this batch in about 30 minutes, so you can do the same thing with stuff you got laying around the house. I'll tell you how to do what ingredients there are, how to do it, and show you how to do it, basically like I always do. So I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get started. Okay, like anything else, we got to start with our ingredients. Of course, you're going to need broccoli. That's a 16-ounce package. I'm using frozen broccoli today. You can use fresh broccoli if you want. That's the good thing about cooking. You can pretty much do anything you want with it, as far as adapting recipes. But today, since we're going to reduce this from what I just made, I'm going to call it the rule of 3. And let's start with the cheeses. You'll see I have the Velveeta cheese up there, and there's 3 about half-inch slices that I cubed up already, ready to go. I'm going to use 3 cups of these other cheeses here. I'm going to use a cup of the sharp cheddar, and I'm choosing today to use Colby Jack mix. So I'll use 2 cups of that, plus 1 cup of the cheddar. You can use any cheese you want to, any cheese you can think of. This is what I have on hand, this is what I'm going to use. I got 3 cups of chicken broth here, and I'm going to put 3 cups of milk in that container there. I got a half a stick of butter, and to match it, I have a 1/4 cup of flour. We're going to show you how to use that. And now notice there's no salt on this table. Salt is the very last thing we're going to add, if we add it at all. What I do put with the broccoli, we're going to use some onion powder, some garlic powder, and some cayenne pepper. Now, you can always use fresh diced onions if you want to, too. And the cayenne pepper, well, you'll see we're just going to use a little tiny bit of that. So let's get started. Okay, making this is really easy. As you can see, I got my broccoli. I put it in this pan already. There's a 4-quart saucepan. And I got my soup kettle already. The first thing you're going to do, I got the broccoli in there, is you take your chicken broth. Now, like I said, this is 3 cups of chicken broth. Today I used bouillon cubes because I used the other chicken stock for what I made earlier. But it all works the same. All we're going to do to this broccoli is steam it. So I'm just going to add about a cup of water, about a cup of the chicken broth in there. It doesn't really matter how much you put it in there because it's still going to go into the soup when it's done anyway. And like I said earlier, I like to use a little bit of garlic powder in there, a little bit of onion powder. You can take the time to dice up some fresh ones and put them in there if you want to. Cayenne pepper is my choice. Just a tiny bit, maybe about a half a teaspoon, if you're into that kind of thing. So I like to have a little tiny bit of kick on it. Now, cooking the broccoli is easy. We're just going to turn the heat on and cover it. And we're just going to steam it. It's that easy. And if you want to throw a little pat of butter in there too, you can. It doesn't really matter because our soup is going to start now. Now with the big soup kettle, we're going to get our 1/4 cup of butter and we're going to melt that down. And I'm going to melt it on a medium heat. You don't want the butter to bubble and burn because if it gets too hot, it's going to burn and you're not going to be able to use it. So we're going to let that boil down. I will skip through this. At this point, you want to make sure you have yourself, I prefer using a flat bamboo spatula. I should have cut this butter off, it would have been quicker, so I'm going to edit out until I'm ready to put in the next step. My butter is almost completely melted, and I've been stirring it most of the time. I'm moving it around on a medium heat because I don't want that butter to burn. Now that it's almost melted, I have a 1/4 cup of flour. I'm just going to put it in there like that. We're going to mix that around. You'll see the flour kind of starts to boil and sizzle a little bit, and this should make almost a paste. And you want to break up all of those lumps in there with your spatula. You can use a wire whisk. I was going to use mine, but it's dirty, so that's okay. We can smash it with the spatula. You'll start to smell like a kind of a nutty aroma. It reminds me of nuts for some reason. But I got everything's all broken up in there. Try not to get any lumps in it. Now it's all broken up, so now when I'm going to put the rest of my chicken broth in there, you want to stand back, it can splatter. That's about 2 cups. That's about the other 2 cups of chicken broth. And, oh, I could have used it. I think I will use this. I did have a whisk sitting out. And now I still have it on the medium heat. And I want to mix in that, it's called a roux, the thickening agent. Now this is okay to boil at this point, so you can actually turn your heat up as long as you're stirring. And you can actually bring that chicken broth to a nice boil. So we'll let that boil and I'll click on to the next part. Now hopefully you can see this. It's just starting to bubble and it's like a much thicker consistency than the chicken broth was. And it's just starting to boil, which is fine. That's what we want it to do. And you can feel the thickness as you're stirring. Now is the time we're going to add the milk in. And now's where it gets a little hairy because we don't want to burn this once the milk's in there. So I'm turning the heat down to just a little below medium. And I'm going to add my milk, stirring the whole time. This is the only downfall of making this. Once you add your milk and you're heating your milk up, you want to stir it as much as possible. If you have to walk away to clean something or prep something, don't be too long because scorched milk will just ruin the whole soup. So that's going well. Like I said, I have this on a little bit below medium. We're just going to let that heat up because the next part of this is to melt the cheese. So once this is hot enough to melt the cheese, we don't want to boil it. Can't stress that enough. We're going to check our broccoli here. It's been on for a few minutes. It's starting to steam and get nice, stirring those spices a little bit. Another thing, if you want big pieces of broccoli in your soup, don't beat your broccoli too much in the pan. And everybody likes it different. Some people like real crisp broccoli in their soup. Some people like it mushy. I'm one of the people who like it mushy because I have teeth problems. So right now it's a nice al dente, like it's cooked. If you were going to serve this on the table, it's perfect. This is I'm putting in my soup. I want to steam it a little while longer, so that's going to keep on going. I'm going to give my cream stir. And this will take about minutes heating it up on medium. You could turn it higher, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you're really going to stand there and be diligent about stirring it, which I have other things to get ready for this. So I'm going to give that a rest. I'm going to pause this and get you in a minute. This is starting to get nice and warm. I still have it on a medium heat, stirring as much as possible. Take a break. I'm going to check my broccoli. Okay, this broccoli is real good now. I can actually kill the heat on the broccoli. And yeah, that's perfect. So, and it's just all you got to do is steam it till it's cooked to your liking. Put that there on the off burner, and we can just let that sit. I still haven't gotten this up to a temperature where it's going to melt my cheese. It's only been 2 minutes since the last break I took. So I'll pause it and wait till this gets hot enough for the next step. Our milk and chicken stock are up to almost the point of boiling. It's steaming, it's nice and hot. You can take a spoon and taste it and see how hot it is. It's definitely going to be hot enough to melt our cheese. So I'm cutting the heat down to low as I can get. And this is why we cubed it. It makes these pieces melt a lot quicker if you cube them. And they're kind of sticking together because I had them sitting out on the table, but that's okay. Still going to work just fine. Like I said, you see the size of them, they're about a ½ inch thick, and then I just cut them in squares from the slice. I did that 3 times because we're calling it the rule of 3 today. And I need a paper towel. Now we put that cheese in. We want to mix that cheese in before we put the shredded cheese in. The shredded cheese is the next thing we put in. of our broth. But now you see, I don't know if you can see on camera or not. I'm going like this and it's picking up the pieces of cheese that I put in there. Since I have it on low, I don't have to worry about it scorching too much. But I want to stir this as much as possible to get that cheese melted and blended in. And I'm just going to keep doing this. I'll cut the film and show you what it looks like. But see, now right for now, I can still see cheese. It's picking up big hunks of cheese. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And you see they're getting melted. They're melting right around my whisk. But we're going to stir that for a few more minutes until it's ready. So we got our fake cheese mixed in there. That's what I call Velveeta, fake cheese. It's basically just used for flavoring. And I was thinking about it. If you really don't want to put it in there, you don't have to. But it makes the broth nice and creamy. If you can see this, it's nice and creamy. It's a little bit thin yet, but that's okay because that's what the shredded cheese is for. Now, you have a decision to make. If you want to keep your broccoli nice and big, you hold off and you put your shredded cheese in first. If you don't mind it getting busted up a little bit, you can add your broccoli now. So I don't really care if it gets busted up or not, so I'm going to go ahead and dump this broccoli in here. Just like that. That's all you got to do. Get little stragglers out of there. Every little straggler's flavor, in my opinion. I don't mind if it gets busted up, because stirring, it's going to break up the pieces a little bit more. And those are pretty big pieces to begin with, so there's that step. Now, I said that the shredded cheese is always the next to the last step. That's unless you want to hold off on your broccoli, which is up to you. But I said the 3-cup rule, we're going to put about a cup of this cheddar cheese in there. You can put as much as you want. You don't have to follow what I'm saying. It all depends how you like it. I have this on a low temperature now. We're done cooking it. We're not cooking anything else in here. Here's 2 cups of this mix. Carefully measured, as you can see. That's the good thing about cooking soups. You can throw whatever you want in there and just cook it to taste, as opposed to baking where everything has to be exact. And then, like I said, it's nice and hot. As you can see, the cheese is melting very nicely. We're going to fold that in there. And you see it now is getting really thick. And just stir your cheese until it melts. And guess what? You're done. You're ready to eat it. I made this. I started this at 20 till 2. It is now about 5 after 2. And that's not counting opening my ingredients, though. So I figure I made this. It'll take about 25, maybe 30 minutes to make it tops, which isn't that long. And you get this really good creamy broccoli cheese soup. Like I said, this is the second batch I made today because I didn't make enough, which is funny for me because I always make too much. But that's about it. And you see, I'm not using a whisk. Once I put the broccoli in there, I switch back to my slotted spatula. That lets me just move stuff around, mix that cheese sauce in. At this point, you can decide if you want to put more cheese in. Now, I told you what the last step is. The last step is salt. I never put salt in these till the very end, because some of the chicken broths we use have a little bit too much salt in it. Sometimes the cheese will have some salt in it. So now it's taster's type broth, and we're going to taste it over the sink. Did you know if you're trying to lose weight, anything you eat over the sink doesn't count? I read that somewhere. Okay, that's actually really good without adding any salt to it. I can taste the salt from the chicken broth we used. But every chicken broth is different. That's where you're going to get most of your salt. So I wait to the end to taste it. In this case, I'm not going to add anything. What I was going to add is Himalayan sea salt. And that's just me being fancy. You can use regular salt, kosher salt. You could use regular table salt too. It's for this purpose, it's all the same. But anyway, there we go. And we'll do the outro, and hope you learned something. Hope you like it. And of course, here's the final product. Nice bowl of soup there. I like to garnish with a little bit of cheddar cheese on top. You don't have to, just to make it look pretty. And I love oyster crackers. People argue with me all the time because I put oyster crackers in any soup I eat. They can't be those little square saltines for me. I really like the oyster crackers. And, you know, it's okay. You can like whatever you want. Some people put Ritz crackers in them. That's another reason I don't like to salt my soups, because when I use crackers in them, it adds more salt to it. So that's something to keep in mind. So that's it. I'm going to do a short outro and we'll be out of here. You see these little guys here? These are the faces that watch me all the time when I cook. And they've been good, so they're going to give each a cracker. Here, catch. Oh, you missed. You failed being a dog. Buster. Buster. Oh, wow, you suck. Grace. Grace. Catch. See, she caught it. One more time. One more time. You ready? There you go. Good boy. All right, let's get to the outro. They don't want to see your dumb ass anymore. Back to the food, and now to the... So there you have it, and that's how to make it. Pretty easy. Anybody can do this at home. You can change your cheeses around, like I explained, change some of your ingredients, change your spices. You can use fresh broccoli, frozen broccoli. Your chicken broth can be chicken broth, chicken stock. You can make stuff out of boiling cubes, which is actually what I did for the one I just showed you, because I had run out of the actual chicken broth I bought. But it worked just fine, and it tasted delicious. And I actually might change my mind on broccoli cheese soup now, because I had just finished having 2 bowls of it. So anyway, I hope you learned something. I hope you leave me a like or a comment down the bottom. My Facebook group for this is called Former Fat Guy in a Tiny Kitchen, if you can find me on that page. I started a few years ago. I dabble in a lot of stuff. If you watch my YouTube videos, you see my YouTube channel doesn't really have a theme. It's basically my life and things that I enjoy. You know, whether it's Star Wars or resin casting, there's some carpentry work from, before, different things I just enjoy. So I hope I can share with you, teach you how to do it, make it for your family. Let me know how it goes. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Drop a like, give me a comment, subscribe, share the video, whatever you want to do. Thanks again. We'll catch you next time.